Greed didn't just kill this country's economy, it deleted it from the global market. Once upon a time, in a corner of the world that map makers barely bothered to label, there was a tiny country. Let's call it Microterra. Microterra had two major things going for it: a massive supply of crude oil and an insatiable appetite for tax evasion. To manipulate the system, the ruling elites of Microterra created a brilliant, highly illegal corporate illusion. They established two twin companies. Company A was based inside Microterra, pumping the oil. Company B was set up right across the border in their massive, hyper-powerful neighbor, Megastate. Now, Megastate was a global superpower, a sprawling economic beast, and Microterra's absolute best customer. But Megastate also had very strict corporate tax laws. Microterra's elites looked at those tax rates and said, absolutely not. So, they invented a game of financial hide-and-seek. When Company A shipped oil to Company B across the border, they deliberately drove the export price down to rock bottom, literally dirt cheap. On paper, Company A made zero profit, meaning Microterra paid no domestic export tax. Then, Company B and Megastate would receive this ultra-cheap oil and create false invoices, faking the manufacturing costs, inflating expenses, and making it look like they weren't making any money either. In reality, they were hoarding billions in untaxed cash through offshore shells. For years, the elites of Microterra were living like kings, sipping champagne on yachts purchased with stolen tax revenue. They thought they were geniuses. They thought Megastate was blind. They were wrong. Megastate's tax auditors weren't stupid. They were just waiting for the right moment to strike. One sunny Tuesday, a digital red flag popped up in Megastate's financial intelligence unit. The math simply didn't check out. How could a company import billions of barrels of oil, claim they were making pennies, and yet the CEO just bought a gold-plated helicopter? They audited the books. They found the false invoices. They found the price-dumping scheme. Megastate didn't send angry letters. They didn't file a lawsuit. They simply released a one-sentence decree. Effective immediately, all import from Microterra are suspended indefinitely. Thud. Just like that, the border slammed shut. The massive trucks stopped moving. The pipelines went cold. Microterra's entire economic lifeblood was cut off in a single afternoon. Within days, Microterra plunged into absolute chaos. Without Megastate buying their goods, domestic businesses collapsed overnight. The stock market looked like a skydiver without a parachute. People flooded the streets, screaming at the government, demanding answers. The supermarkets emptied out. The local currency started spinning into hyperinflation. The country was burning from the inside out. Panicking, the leadership of Microterra gathered in a dark war room. They were desperate, and desperate leaders do incredibly stupid things. They decided to play a game of geopolitical poker against a superpower. We need to bluff, the Prime Minister growled. We need to show them we can hurt them too. Microterra had a reserve of Megastate's currency accumulated over decades of trade. The plan? The Great Sell-Off. Microterra initiated a massive, aggressive dump of Megastate's currency onto the global forex market, hoping to spark a panic, trigger a market crash, and force Megastate to beg for mercy. They hit the sell button with dramatic flair. They expected the global markets to tremble. But Megastate's central bank didn't even blink. While Microterra's leaders were high-fiving each other, celebrating their financial attack, the central planners in Megastate sat calmly at their desks, drinking green tea. They looked at the sudden influx of their own currency being dumped on the market and smiled. Oh, look, our currency is slightly discounted today. Let's buy it back. Megastate's central bank chief murmured. With their trillions in cash reserves, Megastate effortlessly absorbed the entire sell-off. They bought back every single coin Microterra threw at them, stabilizing their currency instantly. Microterra's grand economic attack didn't even cause a flicker on Megastate's stock tickers. It was like trying to put out a forest fire by throwing a single ice cube at it. The bluff had failed, miserably. Now, Megastate was done playing games. They had stayed calm, but they were deeply insulted. It was time for the final blow. Megastate picked up the metaphorical phone and called the global energy markets. They announced the ultimate retaliation, Megastate was officially stopping all purchases of Microterra's oil permanently. This was a death sentence. Megastate didn't just close the border for general trade. They completely cut the umbilical cord of Microterra's entire economy. Microterra hadn't just lost a neighbor. They had lost their most valuable customer, the only entity wealthy enough and large enough to buy their massive oil surplus. The oil fields of Microterra ground to a screeching halt. The storage tanks filled up to the brim until they couldn't hold another drop. The country was literally floating on billions of dollars of black gold, but they couldn't sell a single drop of it. The global market looked at Microterra, now labeled as a fraudulent, unstable nation that tried to sabotage a superpower, and turned their backs. No one else wanted to buy from them. Today, Microterra stands as a haunted monument to human arrogance. The twin companies are bankrupt. The elites who wrote those false invoices are either in hiding or sitting in ruined offices with no electricity. They try to save a few million in taxes by rigging the system, and in the end, they lost an entire kingdom. Because in the brutal game of global economics, if you're going to play dirty against a giant, you better make sure you aren't standing right under its boot.